called by God for a unique purpose. It's time that we reclaim that we were not ashamed of it anymore, that we were not quiet about it anymore. Let's proclaim it boldly. I tell you what else. We need more Christians in business and in the C-suite. We need more Christian CEOs. Don't you agree? You see all these corporate CEOs, what are they doing? They're hiring DEI agents, while at the same time they're sending our jobs overseas and hauling out this country, destroying our jobs, destroying our families. What would it be like if we had some Christian CEOs who would actually put America first, who would pay their American workers good wages that they could support a family on? Raise a family. Wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't it be amazing if we had good Christian policy across the board, economic policy? What's the Bible say? The Bible says, you shall not charge your brother usury. We have credit card companies that are charging 40 to 50% interest on their credit card. They are. That's outrageous. It's outrageous. You know what? If we had a little more Christian influence in our government, what we might say is, we're not going to let you do that anymore. We're not going to let you police America. We're not going to let you sell out America. We're not going to let you hurt your workers. We're not going to do that. Why? Because we are a Christian people, and we believe in what the Bible says. We believe that our faith has made this country the greatest democracy in the history. You know, here's what I would say. When our first forefathers came to this country, several hundred years ago now, they came and they took a covenant, that's what they call it. Our Puritan forefathers, they took a covenant and they pledged themselves, they pledged to each other and to God, that they would follow the ways of the Lord in this new land that they were building. Now what is it that John Luther said? He said, if we will follow the ways of the Lord, it should be a city on a hill. I'm just here to tell you what the world still needs, that city on a hill. And for that city on a hill to be what we were meant to be, the country needs here. It's time for us now. In this moment of trial and danger and chaos, it's time for us to stand up and to preach again the things that unite this country. The left wants to destroy it, the left wants to pull us apart. We need to return to the heritage of our fathers that unites this country. God, family, nation, the things we believe in together, the things that hold us together. It's time to sleep for it. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of the Iowa Faith and Freedom Coalition, Steve Scheffler.
Good morning. I'm honored to introduce the great senator from Iowa, my Senator, Joni Ernst. Joni has dedicated her life to her state and her country, having served in the military for over 23 years, and now serving in the United States Senate. In November of 2014, after her service in the Army Reserves and the Iowa National Guard, and in the state government, Joni was elected as the first woman to serve in federal elected office from the great state of Iowa, and also became the first female combat veteran elected to serve in the United States Senate. In Washington, Joni serves on 3 Senate committees: Armed Services, Agriculture, Nutrition and Forestry, Small Business, and Entrepreneurship. She also serves as the chairman of the Senate Republican Policy Committee. As a mother, a soldier, and a leader, Joni stands up for Iowa farmers, families, small businesses, and holds Washington accountable. Serves a strong national defense, supports her fellow veterans. By the way, she is a huge champion of the pro-life movement. So without further ado, my great senator, we love to death, Senator Joni Ernst.
Carry my freedom. And who out there thinks that we are living in a vastly different America than the one we grew up in? Yes, because I know that this is a very different nation. It is different than the nation that I fought for our country. What we see across the United States, anti-Semitism is raging across our college campuses and through communities. And we have folks that are literally out there chanting, "Death to America." Never did I ever think we would see that on our own shores. We have hard-working folks out there that can barely keep their gas tank filled. They have trouble putting groceries onto the table. And yet we have inflation raging and an administration that refuses to do anything about it. The world is on fire. Now, how many of you served in the armed services? Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for all you have done. Now, when we have strength, we see a peaceful world. But right now, we have an absence of leadership in the White House. We have a feeble-minded and weak-kneed commander-in-chief that has allowed this world to fall apart. We need a replacement, don't we? So, okay, if you haven't noticed, I'm sure you have, but the Democrats have absolutely nothing to run on in this election season, right? So what they're doing, they're resorting to fear-mongering as we're moving forward, and they are fear-mongering about Republicans and what we'll do if we're in charge of the Senate or we take back the White House. Throughout the summer, what we've seen Chuck Schumer do, you all know Chuck Schumer, right? Yeah, I laugh too. Chuck Schumer is putting up a bunch of show votes in the Senate. And again, tying on to that fear-mongering, he's saying that Republicans are radicals. Radical when it comes to life. Radical when it comes to our conservative movement. But you know what? And I know you feel this way. Republicans aren't going to fall for it. We're not the ones that are radical. The radicals are the ones on the far left. They are the ones that believe in abortion up to the point of birth. That's radical. That's what we should be talking about. We will all stand together and support life. And I know this is a crowd that is going to do that. So folks, I have always been unashamed of my adamant support for life. And I know that we are going to carry that through this election cycle. Democrats are the radicals. We are going to support the unborn. The Democrats are the ones that will allow those babies to be killed. And the left wants you to use your hard-earned tax dollars to fund the nation's largest abortion provider, Planned Parenthood. That's their goal. Senate Democrats want to get rid of long-standing conscious freedom protections that our healthcare providers use when they are maintaining their religious and moral beliefs while practicing medicine. They want to strike that. They want to force our doctors Folks, don't listen to their lies. Just keep fighting for life. And for heaven's sakes, do it with pride. Don't allow them to shame us because we are not the ones who shame folks. Anyway, so as a mom and as a pretty new grandma, I have a beautiful grandson. He'll be 5 months old here in the next few days. I will continue to support life. I will proudly support life. And I will proudly support the policies that equip our women with taking care of their families. And that's what we as Republicans should do. Support life and support these wonderful mothers on their journey of raising their children. So Steve mentioned that I came out of the military. I served in the Army Reserves and the Iowa Army National Guard. And in our U.S. Army, it is a great organization that strengthened me, it developed me. In those organizations, leadership is not defined by your title or by your rank. Leadership is defined by those who are inspiring others towards a common goal or objective for the good of the unit or the organization. That is leadership. It is inspiration. And you know what, folks? When you look at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue right now, are you inspired? I hear some laughing. Because that's what is happening right now. There is no leadership coming out of the White House. And the world is looking at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And yes, sir, they are laughing. They are laughing. In order to get our country back on track, we need new leadership. And someone who will inspire others to follow for the good of our nation. So you know where I'm headed with that, right? We've got great opportunity coming up. I'm going to touch on just one more issue, something happening in the southern part of our nation. Do you think we have a border crisis? Yes. And this is all, again, because of lack of leadership. Lack of leadership. Biden's border crisis has allowed these violent illegals to come into our nation. Matter of fact, he has welcomed terrorists into the United States. We have 8 individuals that were just arrested that have ties to one of the most violent extremist organizations out there, ISIS. This is under Joe Biden's watch. He is literally allowing these folks to flood into our nation and destroy America. And now, just this week, Biden has decided to cave to the far left yet once again by allowing amnesty for hundreds of thousands of people that came into the country illegally. It is madness and it's got to end. And you know how it ends? How does it end, folks? Yes! Yes! So we have to re-elect Donald J. Trump. The only way our madness will stop here in the United States is if we re-elect Donald J. Trump and we are supporting So your vote is not good enough, folks. I want you to talk to a neighbor, talk to a colleague, talk to the folks at church, and make sure that you are getting out the vote this fall. Because we need to flood the ballot box with folks that are supporting Donald J. Trump and our Republicans. Only then are we going to make a difference and right the ship that is headed in the wrong direction. Okay? So, I'm a freedom lover, like all of you. God bless you all that have worn the uniform. God bless you all that support those that wear the uniform. I'm going to share this with you. So anytime someone thanks me for my service, I say you're worth it. You are worth it. And our country is worth it. So, if we wish to continue on with a nation that is deserving of the blood and sacrifice laid down for our freedoms and our values, we have to have the leadership that will keep us a true and faithful nation. We all must engage in this fight for liberty, in this fight for freedom. You all are a part of that. So I thank you all for being here, for being true patriots and engaging with me on this fight for our beautiful nation. So God bless you all. Thank you for engaging. God bless our great United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Timothy Head.
We actually have a gentleman that's going to be with us who actually spent a number of years working in the Senate as a general counsel in various legal capacities around the U.S. Senate, but is actually the last Attorney General of the state of Kentucky. So any Kentuckians here? Got a few? Here we are. It's a treat for us to be able to be joined by our next guest, because not only do we have the honor of working with Daniel Cameron a number of times in his stint working on the Hill, but also we became really big fans of his and a lot of the various roles that an Attorney General plays that he and his office were extremely effective in Kentucky for the last 4 years. But one of the interesting pieces that he's actually taking on right now is how many fans of woke corporations do we have in this room? A lot of big fans, a lot of Disney fans, a lot of Nike fans in here. Well, he's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the efforts that he and his team are now working on at the 1792 exchange. Actually kind of putting flesh on this fight, to actually, truly get in the foxhole and try to figure out what exactly can be done to bring accountability to a lot of these corporations that have been, frankly, running amok, over the last number of years. But I also have to say, on a personal level, an extremely, just a genuine good guy, a great father, a great husband, and a great friend to Faith and Freedom Coalition. Would you join me in welcoming Daniel Cameron?
Thank you, Timothy, for that kind introduction and nice welcome from this room. I bring greetings from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, where we love God, basketball, and bourbon. Not always in that order. And it is an honor to be here, to be standing on this stage, especially given some of the speakers we've already heard from and some that you will hear from later, including President Donald J. Trump. I will say, though, it is kind of surreal to be standing here. I mean that quite literally. In fact, until this morning, I wasn't even listed as a speaker. So you can imagine the trepidation walking up here, not knowing if I'm really supposed to be on the stage. But I'm a lot more confident at this juncture. But let me just start by offering a word of thanks to a tremendous and fearless leader in Ralph Reed and the many men and women who give tirelessly to the cause of freedom, to the cause of faith, and to the cause of family. In this moment, we need those who are willing to give maximum effort on all three. And that is what the Faith and Freedom Coalition does without waiting. As President Reagan once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. As defenders of freedom, you stay extinction. So collectively we say thank you for your service, but the rest of us cannot, nor should we, expect that this coalition and its members engage in this fight alone. We all have a part to play in this great struggle to live free of oppressive government in support of our faith and in defense of our families. And we are called as a sacred duty and obligation in Scripture to fight in this effort. The book of Romans is a Christian's call to action. It's a letter from Paul. It's a call to be, in every single way that you can, someone who lives in the abundant life and leaves the past life and ways behind. And there's one particular passage in Romans that talks about how we should engage in the public square. In Romans 8:19, Paul writes that creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. As the children of God, we have a profound obligation to stand up and speak up the truth. And if we don't, you and I miss out on an opportunity to be the hands and feet of Christ and to fulfill our role as ambassadors in the marketplace of ideas. We must embrace this vitally important role because right now, big government, big business, and our elitist academic institutions are committed to using the levers of power to change the very fabric of what makes this country great. Their alliance seeks to replace merit and equality of opportunity with preferential treatment and outcomes. It's a partnership rooted in the idea that we are not to be seen as neighbors to be loved, but to be labeled as enemies characterized as oppressors. It's an alliance that would strip us of our energy independence. And it is an alliance that is willing to sacrifice American values and marginalize those who support them at the altar of radical progressive ideology. But you and I neither have to accept nor embrace this faith. We can, as Romans 8:19 implores us to do, stand up and be counted. We can defend individual liberty and free markets, even in the face of great challenge. History teaches us that the elements are fundamental for a thriving society and essential for human flourishing. History is with us, and profoundly and proudly, we must continue to stand on the right side with our Christian brothers and sisters in this effort. Now, I proudly supported these causes as the 51st Attorney General of Kentucky, holding big businesses accountable when they push too many opioids into our state, fighting for Kentuckians' First Amendment rights when our governor tried to shut down our churches, and standing up for the disenfranchised or the most voiceless when it came to human trafficking and protecting the unborn. And I would have been honored to have stood for those principles and those values as the governor of Kentucky, but that was not meant to be in that moment. And the sting of defeat is real, but it does not have to be final. Like so many examples in Scripture, we are instructed to fight the good fight, to finish the race, and to keep the faith as long as we live. Paul did not give up in Jerusalem even after his arrest. Peter did not give up in Rome even though he knew martyrdom awaited him. And Christ did not give up on the cross even knowing what agony he was to experience. We serve a mighty God, and as one door closes, oftentimes another door opens. And now, as the CEO of 1792 Exchange, I get to continue this work. Our organization is dedicated to preserving the founding ideals and ending the anti-American crusades that threaten the fabric of our country. As Calvin Coolidge said, the chief business of the American people is business. We want businesses to produce high-quality products, not push partisan agendas. And there is a great need of this because right now, as we speak, big corporations are weaponizing against your values and in support of progressive virtue signaling. In one instance, a bank shuttered a religious group's checking account and demanded a list of their donors as a condition of resuming service. In another instance, a bank canceled an account for the Arkansas Family Council because the bank apparently believed that the council was an hate group. And finally, in 2021, a payment processor canceled a contract with a conservative group simply for hosting an event with Donald J. Trump Jr. Now, the payment processor considered that prohibited activity. Ultimately, the reality is this, that if you adhere to biblical definitions and seek to live according to those standards, or if you are a conservative and wish to host events with like-minded conservatives, then the threat of debanking is real. And add to the fact that business leaders at our largest, most profitable companies are now pushing race and identity politics based on hiring quotas. They're forcing employees to undergo diversity training that teaches that America is a fundamentally racist country. And their solution to this alleged racism is more racism. They punish some and reward others based solely on the color of their skin. They call it DEI, I call it discrimination. Now hear this. I want everybody in this room and every corporate board member to understand this. America is not a racist country. I have evidence that it is not. I'm the first black American independently elected to statewide office in Kentucky's history. I won my party's nomination for governor in a southern state. That people do not care about your skin color, they care about your values. America doesn't need more companies built on diversity, equity, and inclusion. America needs more companies built on merit, excellence, and intelligence. Social engineering will not lead us to economic prosperity. And the agenda of the progressive left should not be able to decide whether a profitable coal mine in Kentucky receives working capital or whether a promising Israeli defense startup receives seed money. 1792 exchange, we seek to end the progressive left's monopoly on decision-making in business. We aim to educate the public and to drive corporations and money managers back to neutral and divisive social issues. Our businesses should not and must not be outlets for government or social influence. They should stick to producing the best products and offering the best services. At the end of the day, profit making is not a shameful aim, at least not when it's growing the pensions of teachers, firefighters, and police officers, so they can enjoy a retirement that is equal to their sacrifice. It's not when it allows plumbers, electricians, and factory workers to build 401ks that provide for their families, create generational wealth. Americans deserve better than seeing their working years sacrificed for someone else's social cause. So where does all this leave us? We are gathered here in a great moment of change in our country. America will remain a bastion of freedom and free markets, a shining city on a hill, only so long as the men and women of God stand up for what is right. Without you, without the passionate pursuit of a higher calling, we risk the extinction of this great Republican experiment. So I challenge you to step forward, act on your faith, embrace the calling of Romans 8:19 as children of God. Join the struggle for the future of the American dream. May God bless you and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage four-term Congresswoman, Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard.
Aloha. Got somebody from Hawaii right here. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you here in our nation's capital at such a pivotal time. We truly live in the greatest country in the world because of the founding principles upon which our country was created. I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, twice, both as a soldier who enlisted in the wake of 9/11 like so many Americans. Thank you. As well as a member of Congress, where I served for 8 years. I take this oath seriously, and it is our Constitution that is under attack today. I first joined the Democratic Party over 20 years ago. I was 21 years old, and what I saw back then was a party that still stood for free speech. That was a big open tent party that welcomed people with different ideas, different backgrounds, different religions, that stood up for civil liberties, that fought for everyday Americans. The party of the little guy. Fast forward to where we are today, that party is completely unrecognizable. I left the Democratic Party because it is led by an elitist cabal of woke warmongers. They are driven by an insatiable greed for power, and they are willing to do whatever they deem is necessary, even the destruction of our freedom, to get what they want and to stay in power. This is the challenge and the threat behind those who are abusing their power in more brazen ways than I ever would have imagined today. I left the Democratic Party because it's led by fanatical ideologues who don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and the right of every one of us to express ourselves without fear of retribution or retaliation from those in power. They censor speech they don't like. Why and how? They say, we need to protect you from yourselves. And so we have to protect you from things that we call misinformation, disinformation, or hate speech, speech that they don't like. They undermine our civil liberties, working with powerful entities in the propaganda media and big tech. They're trying to get rid of our Second Amendment in every way possible, rejecting the very reason why our founders passed it right after the First Amendment. Rejecting the reality that every one of us has a right to defend ourselves and our loved ones, and that we are the check on the abuse of power by an increasingly tyrannical government. And that is what we are facing here. They reject our Constitution that fundamentally recognizes that our freedom comes from God, no one else. Because its leaders reject this truth and are increasingly hostile towards people of faith and spirituality, actively seeking to undermine our religious freedom and the spiritual foundation of our country. They are targeting people of faith. We heard from the last speaker and others very real examples of this, how they are targeting especially Christians. They are targeting peaceful pro-life protesters. They are targeting those they deem as radical traditionalist Catholics. Thomas Jefferson said, God who gave us life, gave us liberty. And the liberties of a nation be secure when we have removed the conviction that these liberties are the gift of God. Of course, the answer to that is no. To recognize each other as children of God is to appreciate that every one of us belongs to God and to no one else. So no individual or institution has the right to take away the freedom that God has given us. This is the foundation of the social construct of the United States of America, and it is the core of who we really are. Any political party that is trying to erase the presence of God from every facet of public life and is hostile towards those who choose to worship God cannot be trusted to protect our inalienable God-given rights enshrined in the Constitution and should not be in power. These are just a few of the reasons why I left the Democratic Party and why many people across this country are doing the same. They recognize the great challenges that we face as a country. They recognize how powerful the forces of darkness are. They recognize how the Biden-Harris administration and their allies are taking unprecedented action to destroy our democracy, to undermine the rule of law, by politicizing the justice system to go after their political opponents. Foremost among them, former President Donald Trump. What is the effect of this? The effect of this is essentially they are stealing our democracy. They're taking away our right, our fundamental right in this free country to make our own decision for ourselves, who we want to be our next president and commander-in-chief. This is not what happens in a democratic republic. This is what happens in a banana republic. And just as we see in these banana republics around the world, in dictatorships in other parts of the world, there are very real consequences to these actions. It creates this culture of fear amongst the people. Fear of political retribution, retaliation. Fear that those in positions of great power and authority will use their power against anyone who dares to challenge their authority. You may remember President Biden gave a speech a couple of years ago in Philadelphia, where he placed the target on the backs of tens of millions of Americans who happened to not vote for it. When he said MAGA Republicans are the most extreme domestic threat to our democracy. You hear this refrain over and over. You hear the pundits on mainstream propaganda TV. You hear people in the White House, these MAGA Republicans. They say this term over and over. Who are the MAGA Republicans they speak of. I've had the opportunity to travel across the country and speak to amazing and great Americans who love our country and cherish peace and freedom. And I meet a lot of these people they call MAGA Republicans. They are the moms for liberty who are standing up for their children. From small towns and big cities across the country. They are those who are proud to salute our flag and express our love for our country. They are those who stand up and defend our right to free speech, who defend our right to bear arms. It is those who have the audacity to say, as a nation, we must have secure borders. It is those who say, in no uncertain terms, there is such a thing as a woman. And there is no greater expression of hatred and hostility towards women than what they are doing in trying to erase us as an entire category of people. Who are these MAGA Republicans? They are those who stand up for the most vulnerable amongst us. They are those who say, no, we will not allow you to sexualize and violate our children in schools. They are those who are saying, you must stop tearing us apart, fomenting racism and hate by racializing everything, betraying Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream for us. These people have cast a dark shadow over our country. And it's understandable why many people may feel hopeless at times. They feel like it's hard to see a way out. It's hard to see how we can combat these great powers that are colluding against us and against our freedom in our country. It's understandable why at times we may be afraid to stand up and speak. To stand up for that which we know is right, and to stand up and speak out against that which we know is wrong. Afraid to be labeled as a bigot or racist, or any of the other terms that they use to try to smear those who challenge their power. In those moments, when we are confronted with that doubt or that fear, it's important that we ask ourselves, what are we really afraid of? Who are we trying to please? Are we here to serve and please God, our eternal well-wisher, our best friend? Or do we have some other master, someone other than God that we are trying to please? We are concerned about displeasing. We cannot be a servant to two masters. The choice is ours. What is our purpose? Who are we in this world to serve? Who are we dedicating our lives to? I'm so grateful to have experienced from a young age that I was happiest when I was doing my best to serve God, whatever way that I could. To experience in times of great hardship and in times of joy, in times of peace here at home or in times of war in battlefields in the Middle East or in Africa. When I choose God and rest in His eternal love, I find peace. I find comfort. I find comfort in God's love when He tells us, don't be afraid, I am with you. It is in Him where we find strength to speak the truth, and strength rooted in love, not hate. Strength to stand up for what is right. Treat others, whether we agree or disagree with them, with love and respect. Because there's nothing more powerful than love. Our hope comes from God's unconditional and eternal love for us, and we know that only that love can defeat hate. Our future, the future of our nation, is in our hands. And we, the people, we, the American people, have a no-fail mission. Our founders were talking to us when they said, we the people. They were talking to us when they spoke of a self-governed nation. All that the Democrat elite are doing now to try to take away our freedom, we should be empowered to know why they are doing this. As powerful as they seem to be, they are terrified of us. Because they know that a free people in a free society exercising our freedom and fulfilling our responsibility as Americans is the greatest threat to their power. Yes! We are only powerful if we use it. We have a huge election standing before us on November 5th. This is a pivotal moment where if we do not complete this no-fail mission and throw out of office the Biden-Harris administration and those who choose power, if we fail in this mission, I fear we will wake up on the other side of this election, speeding towards a country that we will no longer recognize. We might not agree on every issue. I guarantee you every person in this room doesn't agree on every issue. But neither did our founding fathers. They had fierce debates and conversations about things they felt strongly about in private and in public. This is the vibrant marketplace of ideas that is the foundation of a democratic republic. They came together around the most important things, the founding principles of our country. And so the message that we need to carry out as you leave this amazing conference inspired and energized is to reach out to others who may not know what to do in this election, who feel politically homeless, who recognize that our country is headed down a dangerous path, but don't quite know what to do. Reach out to them and encourage them to join us around these founding principles because of the essential task before us to defend our freedom. Now, God has given us free will. In these coming months and throughout our lives, we can choose to hide in the shadows and cower in fear, or we can choose to act and lead with love. We can choose to elect leaders who are committed to the Constitution, but in the interests of the American people and our nation first. Choose to fight the darkness of fear and hatred with the light of courage, love, and respect. Have faith that the light of God's unconditional love burns brightly in every one of our hearts. Will give us that strength, that clarity, and that true happiness that we seek. And that He will guide us every day, every step through these dark times to the bright future that our founders envisioned for our great country. Let us never forget, we belong to God and to no one else. And by God's grace, we are free, and we will remain free.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Executive Director of the North Carolina Faith and Freedom Coalition, Jason Williams.
Well, my response back to this reporter is, man,
somebody like what Carrie Lake was talking about just a few minutes ago, is God give us some data, it's like 1 Samuel chapter 17, where he walked out, he saw all the soldiers, his brothers, and everybody sitting on the sidelines, and he said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? He said, he can defy the armies of the living God. And God give us some men and women and young people who will stand up to these godless reprobates and tell them, who are they? Who are these people? You see what they're trying to find the Palestinian flags on the Capitol? They're trying to defund the police. These guys are putting pornography in our schools, and somebody's got to say enough is enough, or we're not going to take it anymore. And God's given us the word of God. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our country. This isn't an academic exercise. We've got to get involved. We've got to speak out. We've got to do something, or else we're going to be living out those prophetic words from Ronald Reagan. We're just going to be able to tell our kids what it was like to live in a place where we were once free. So I'm thrilled to death that we've got one of those men with us here today, who about 6 years ago got sick and tired and fed up, got tired of the people on the sidelines, and said, you know what, I'm going to go and say something, and I'm going to do something about what's going on. He spoke up at a city council meeting, and he said, enough is enough. You're not taking our guns, you're not going to take away what our founders gave us, and I'm going to stand and fight for our Second Amendment. And this guy has become a star. And you know, I know the reporter who wrote this meant it as a negative thing, but you know, maybe Mark Robinson is our great black cook. I mean, he's pretty great. He said some great things as lieutenant governor. The rumors are true, he is black. And I hope to God he is our governor.
Led by somebody
details about the issues. What I really came here to do, I came here to get something started. See, we got a problem in this country. We got a bunch of climate track people that sit behind newsmedia and desks want to talk about fake trials for President Trump. Turn the television on and talk about first one actor, then another actor. Talking about all manners of foolishness. Talking about MAGA Republicans being the most dangerous people on earth. I don't know. I didn't see these MAGA Republicans on 9/11 blowing up buildings and everybody. I don't think these MAGA Republicans were over in Israel murdering people. And I don't think a MAGA Republican gave them the money to be able to do it. See, we got folks in this country that don't want to talk about the substantive issues all over space. Things that we just talked about, that wide open border, carries the place we find ourselves in safety and security in the world on the world stage. They don't want to talk about your pocketbook. They don't want to talk about the fact that your children are in schools where we spend millions upon millions of dollars for those schools. And the children can't read on the grade level. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the fact that every single solitary policy that they propose and get passed yields horrible results. They don't want to talk about it. Why? Because it proves an essential truth. It proves an essential truth. What is that truth? The simple truth of the matter is this. They call us the right. We sit on the right. We not only get called the right and call ourselves the right and sit on the right, we are right. Not be sexualized. We are right. When we say it is your money, you earn it, you work for it, the government should not be picking your pocket. We are right. We are right. Too many of us are ashamed to be white though. We go to work, start talking about politics. Start standing up saying, I can't go back to the country. And here's the nice thing, because that President Trump is just mean. I just don't like the things he says. He's just mean and arrogant, and he's a bully. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to go crazy. This man is fighting. Let's look what he's fighting. He's fighting almost the entire news media. He's fighting all the Democrats. He's fighting all the communists. He's fighting all the socialists. He's fighting all of our enemies across the ocean. And sadly, he's fighting half the Republicans. How is this man a bully? How is he a bully? See, we hear that at work sometimes. Some of us a little shy, standing up, standing. People look at us and say, why are you Republican? I say, well, I'm a Republican. I like the Reagan. Then he did a great job. I like Reagan. So I aspire to be Republican. We shy away from the truth. We don't want to look at that person and say, you know, well, but in the Republican Party, it was formed, stand up for the Republic, not the democracy like you see straight over the news. See, them folks want the democracy. They want the mob to rule. They don't want this republic. They don't want Republicans stand up for the republic. You know, tell them, yeah, what they do? Well, they say, well, the Republican Party is the party of old white men. they are the ones that fought like hell to keep them. Until they found out a different way to enslave people. Instead of giving them slave shackles, they decided they were going to give them welfare checks and gallons. See, there are truths that nobody wants to talk about. Got the newspeople, got the college, even the college professors are getting excited up there, guys. Like the college professors. Nobody wants to front row up there, watch out. They fire people, they all there, watch out. Nobody wants to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. And you should too. You should run it on television news with my go Republic. You can take it all the way back to 1860 and bring it all the way up right now to 2020. You look at the states that are run by Republicans. Look at what Sarah Huckabee Sanders is doing in Arkansas. Look at what Bill Clinton is doing in Virginia. Look at what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida. Look at what the Republican legislature in North Carolina is doing and has done since 2010. Think about what North Carolina will do when Mark Robinson is the Republican. No one will be bold enough to tell it if you're not. I speak about this all the time, and when I do, I try to do it without shedding tears, but it's hard for me to do it. Tell my wife I have two great dreams. One great dream exists on this side of the earth. The other dream exists on the other side. Dream on the other side. Very, very dear. People think that I hate people. I don't hate people. I hate actions. Hate actions. Take advantage of people. Destroy people's lives. Destroy the reputation. I hate actions. I don't hate people. One of my greatest dreams as a Christian is this. I take it to heart when I say it. You know, they tell me that when I die, I do what God says on earth. It's reserved to mansion in the room. Think about that room you made, reserved for me. And I think about myself again. That place is like anything like down on earth. Maybe people would come to visit. You know who I want to come to visit? Of course, I love to see the heroes of the faith come. My mom, my family, those I love. You know what else I want to see? I want to look out my window down at my drive and see Nancy Pelosi. Seriously. I want to see Joe Biden come walking. I do. I do. I want to look out there and see my opponent Trump.
sitting up on somebody's ship. In a home somewhere, I don't know where it may be. Here's some other place. I want somebody to pull that photograph down and look at it and say, who is this man? And I want one of my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, right here in the United States of America, take that picture, hold it up on their head. This is my grandfather. I live in freedom today because we can stand up and give me the same kind of freedom that you do up here. To be able to sing praise up on this earth. I still hope that you get some of you who want to have that honor today. And before I leave, I'm going to leave you with this. Who are we as Republicans? Who are we as conservatives? Who are we as patriots? Who are we as MAGA Republicans? I wrote it all down to this. Earlier this month, we celebrate what I call America's St. Christmas. D-Day, June 6th, 1944. Spirit of MAGA, spirit of us, spirit of the American patriot is embodied in those boys and those boats. It lives inside the hearts of each and every person in this room. It lives inside of the people who go back home and get politically active and are bound and determined to change the circumstances of their cities and their state and their nation. It exists in those moms who had unmitigated gall, according to some, to go down to the school board and demand that their children not be sexualized. It lives in the heart of every country who decides to put their name on the outside and serve the office. It exists inside of Americans who love this nation. The heart of the boys in those boats on that day is literally the epitome of America. When times get tough on us, you get scared, when you get nervous, when you think you can't win, think about the boys in the boats. Think about them going to that door. Think about the fact that that door opened. They didn't run to the back. They ran out that door. Bullets be down. Cats be down. I'm here to save my country. You think about it. You remember. And you remember that sacrifice was not in vain because it lives in you. And it lives in me. And it lives in all of us. Let's let that energize us to save this nation one more time. God bless you all. And God bless you.
I knew who she was. I followed her from afar, but I never really got to know her until we came to know one another through our mutual friendship with Donald Trump. And when you talk about modern day Esthers, there are very few that more fulfill that than Paula White can. Paula White is a best-selling author. She's a pastor of an unbelievable and amazing church in Orlando, Florida. She's built some of the largest and most dynamic churches in our country over the last 25 years. She has a global television ministry that reaches a potential audience of over 1 billion people in over 190 countries around the world. But more than anything, she is a woman who has yielded her life, her heart, and her will to Jesus Christ. And God, through His infinite sovereignty and wisdom, brought her together with Donald Trump when neither one of them ever knew in 1,000,000 years that he would someday be president. And she played an incredibly pivotal spiritual and pastoral role in his life and the life of the entire Trump family. And then on Election Day 2016, you remember all the long faces at CNN and CBS and ABC, and he became president. And she became a senior advisor for the Faith Initiative and for Opportunity in the White House, and through her leadership and her unique relationship with the president, she gave the faith community the most unfettered and significant access, not only to the president, but to the entire administration, than I promise you anyone has done in your or my lifetime. She made sure that the president heard from this community. And in those 4 years, over 10,000 faith leaders walked through the walls of the White House. She is a dear friend of ours in this organization. She is a dear friend of the faith community. And beginning next January 20th, I hope she's back in the White House again with Donald Trump. Would you please welcome back to the majority our friend Paula White.
So good to be with you today, and there's just not as great of a friend as Ralph Reed. He is an amazing, amazing man of God. I want you to let him know, because he makes it look easy, but when you think, I think he's done 12 presidents, you know, when you think about how Ralph has really paved the way to be sitting in greatness all the time, will you please let Ralph and Joanne know? It goes off on me, so I probably won't use it, all right? So the Bible declares this. First off, America was not great by accident. America is great because of the principles and the foundation that it was founded on. And it is those foundations that we must fight for. And the Bible declares in Psalm chapter 11, verse 3, "What shall the righteous do if the foundations be destroyed?" But I believe, just in the little bit that I've heard today, that I am with a people that are not going to allow those foundations to be destroyed. Amen? This is not the time to be weary. This is not the time to give up. This is the time that the Bible commands us, having done all to stand, we stand therefore. And that's not a weak position. That is a position of strength. That means after you have fought one battle and gotten the victory, you get ready and you fight another one. I don't know who's ready for a fight, but November, I'm ready for a great victory. I met President Trump 24 years ago, for those of you that don't know. I received a phone call out of the blue. He'd been listening to my sermons and watching me regularly, and they got him on the line, and he said, "This is Mr. Trump," and he began to repeat to me almost verbatim the 3 sermons, value of vision. At the end of it, he said, "You have the it factor." I said, "Oh, sir, we call that the anointing." That was our end level. And at that point, I really felt that the Lord said, "Show who I am." And so for 24 years, I've been in his life and had the great privilege of really being his pastor. And I remember in 2011, he came to me and he said, "Paul, I don't like the way this country is going." He said, "I'm thinking about running for president." I said, "What do you think?" I told him what I thought. And then he turned around and he said, "Well, what does God say?" Now, I take that very serious. So I called up about 30-something friends and we came together and we started praying. And what many people don't know is that this movement really, not just through those 30, but through thousands and millions of people around the world, not even only in this country, have been praying. Praying for America, praying for President Trump, praying for us, praying for the work that we are doing. And so we got together and I'll never forget, I came back, he called me to the office. We were in there about 6 hours and he called me to the office and he said, "Well, what does God say?" And I said, "Sir," I said, "you're going to be president one day." And a tear, I'm not much of a crier, I'm usually much more of a, on fire type of person, but a tear ran down my eye. And I said, "But I hate the price that you're going to pay." Little would any of us have ever imagined the price that this man, his family, and many of us have paid. But I have to ask you something, and I know what he would say. Is the price worth it? Absolutely. When we look at our children, our grandchildren, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and I would go on in 2014, I'll talk about this, where we are and where I believe we're going and what we need to do. In 2014, he called my husband and I married to Jonathan King, our journey. He wrote some great songs, the ones you'll listen to like Faithfully and Open Arms and Don't Stop Believing and all of those iconic songs. And he said to Jonathan and I, he said, "I'm going to be president and you're going to be the faith director." I tell everyone, I said, he knew exactly what he was doing and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not sure either one of us knew what we were doing, but I did know that God was with us. So I went into the White House with the great honor of being the advisor to President Trump for Faith Initiative and Opportunity. And we extended the faith to the largest extent it could be. In every cabinet we had a faith director, in every cabinet we had a legal team, we had a staff, we had a budget. Not only in the cabinets, we had it also in the agencies. But things drastically changed. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Not a little bit of change, not the kind of change where we all work together on different issues like back in the early 2000s or the 90s or the 80s. Not the type of change where Democrats and Republicans came together with Bill Clinton and worked on welfare reform. I'm talking about a radical, unrecognizable change that we must fight for. And that kind of change, if you are a Christian or you are a believer, is going to matter to you. Because our religious liberties and our religious freedoms are under attack as never before, ever in our lifetime. The first year of Biden's administration alone, he rescinded and overturned 18 pro-life, different things that we had done for President Trump. Over 12 religious liberty and freedom ones. And let me talk to you about that for just a moment. About what kind of attack we are under right now. There was a leaked HHS memo revealed the Biden administration's plans to strip the Trump-era religious freedom protections. The document would encourage the HHS secretary to strip authority away from the Office of Civil Rights to enforce the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which would essentially leave faith communities more vulnerable and without needed protections. That was day one, but they proclaimed this, what they would do to people of faith. And they didn't just proclaim it, they've done it. The faith community has been targeted by the FBI. Earlier this year, pro-life activist Mark Hope was arrested following an FBI raid. Although he was later acquitted on all charges, it marked the beginning of a troubling trend of the FBI targeting people of faith, specifically Catholics. There is something worth fighting for. And I believe Senator Josh Hawley told you about it this morning, right? Not my pea patch, right? You've got to protect what God has given you. The past September, the U.S. Senators on the Intelligence Committee published a letter giving the FBI Director Christopher Wray until September 29th to explain how the Richmond, Virginia field office drafted a memo with plans to spy on Catholics. This is blatantly unconstitutional and a grave threat to all religious liberty. And if we don't get religious liberty right, it is the bedrock which all of our other freedoms fall upon. Recently, the federal government, through the help of, let me go on to some of these. I'm trying to cut out my time here. Many of you know that the Ohio pastor, Chris Bell, was arrested for opening his church to house the homeless. He had to fight, of course, First Liberty came alongside of him, and we won that. But the fact that he had to give up his life savings and fight because he was carrying out the gospel of Jesus Christ to take homeless people right outside of his church and put them on the inside, and the state of Ohio arrested him. That's a violation to your First Amendment and your religious liberty right. Should I keep on going? Just for a few, this May, Health and Human Service Secretary Xavier Baccarat admitted that the federal funds would be withheld from hospitals that do not perform transgender surgeries on religious grounds, a massive attack on conscious protections. Additionally, a pro-life activist, as you know, was sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison, supposed to face Freedom of Access to Clinic Interests Act charges after protesting outside of an abortion clinic in D.C. Mind you, the abortion clinic performs late-term abortions where the bodies of aborted babies had been found. While the FACE Act is supposed to protect abortion facilities as well as pregnancy resource centers, we know that the pregnancy resource centers have had a massive increase in vandalism and attacks on their centers without any protections, while they're arresting people that are peacefully standing out where they're performing late-term abortions, and they're standing for their First Amendment, religious liberty, and religious right, and now we are being arrested, not in China, not in North Korea, come on, not in a communist country, but right here in the beautiful United States of America. Something is wrong, and we have to stop it, and this November we will absolutely make our voice heard and say enough is enough. There's so many other things I can talk about. We are winning a lot of victories through the Supreme Court. Thank you, Coach Kennedy. Thank you for the lemon law that was overturned. But the very fact that Coach Kennedy had to go to the Supreme Court, not for holding a prayer meeting in school, but for quietly bowing, taking a knee like this, on the side of the field, not having other coaches, not having other teachers, not having players, but privately and quietly praying to his God, his Lord, his Savior, and he was fired from his position of coaching. Not only was he fired, but he had a ump in him. He said, I'm not going to let you take what belongs to me. My freedom to worship, my freedom to pray. So we fought it all the way to the Supreme Court, and of course he won, and they overturned the horrific rule of the lemon law, which is now allowing us stuff in the Supreme Court like the state of Louisiana yesterday, where we did get some victories. Go on and on about how difficult it is for Christians to adopt. I can tell you how there are 319,000 foster care kids, and how this administration has put out memos and wordage that basically, if you do not teach and train on an LGBTQ agenda, if you do not nurture that, then you are a hostile environment that is not worthy to be able to adopt or be a foster care parent. I can just go on and on. But at the end of the day, they are attacking. It is an attack upon our faith, upon our beliefs, upon Christianity, upon every person of faith. And I believe that there are people in this room that are going to stand up and say, come on, devil, we've had enough. No more. We're all around here. What I mean by devil is Ephesians 6:12. It says we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, wickedness, and darkness. This is an ideology that is against God, against our faith and against our life, and we will put a stop to it come November. If every Christian gets up and they vote, come on, I can put that 30% of Christians get out and vote. But if we will come on here and talk to our friends and go and let them know the truth. I just started on religious liberty. I'm looking here at Donna. I didn't even get to Israel or all the other things I can tell you about, but other people will tell you about. But what I do know is you are the majority. And you, your friends, and your neighbors, and the people that you go to church with, when we stand up, we will reclaim the republic. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, Monica Crowley.
Guys, I am so happy to be back at Faith and Freedom, and I want to thank Ralph Reed, who is a true hero of the Republic, for inviting me back this year. What I love about this is everything is in the name of this conference, right? Faith and freedom. You can have faith without freedom, but you cannot have freedom without faith. And you certainly cannot have American freedom without faith. So I am blessed and honored to be here today, and I want to thank all of you for being here as well, for caring enough about your country and the future of this country to be here today. I want to talk today a little bit about hinge moments. American exceptionalism, American destiny is built on hinge moments. Moments in American history after which everything else is different. July 4th, 1776, April 12th, 1861, December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001. There are other key hinge moments in U.S. history, but these are the main ones. What do they all have in common? What they all have in common is after those hinge moments, we went to war. The American Revolution, the Civil War, World War II, Vietnam, the War on Terror. We are right now in a hinge moment in American history. The difference this time is that this war has been ongoing. This war has been underway for almost a century, and only one side has been fighting it, and it wasn't us. Because we, as normal believers in America and in our God, were busy doing other things. We were busy getting an education, raising families, being active in our communities, starting small businesses. And the enemy within was busy doing something else. The enemy within was busy infiltrating, undermining, and destroying the United States of America. This did not begin under Joe Biden. It did not begin under Barack Obama. This all started nearly a century ago as a KGB operation. We're here to celebrate God as central to America. Communism, Marxism, neo-Marxism, which is what we are fighting right now, and its sister, globalism, are godless philosophies. They remove God, they ban God. Why? Because the state is supposed to be your God. The state is supposed to be everything for you. It is supposed to be your community, your job, your family, and your God. And so while we've been busy doing other things for the last 90 years, the neo-Marxists have been very busy destroying everything we hope and cherish for this country, our very foundational principles. So when I say we are at a hinge moment now, it's been a long time coming. And it is now here because the war has been ongoing against everything that we cherish. What did they do? Well, the neo-Marxists went to work starting in the 1930s, perhaps even a little earlier than that. And they decided that the United States could not be destroyed from without, like an external war, because we had a strong constitution and a strong God-fearing population that would fight for those things. So they came up with a really clever way of destroying it all. And that is by infiltrating from within, and then like termites, eating away at the foundations of this country for decades and decades and decades. And they did it by grabbing control over the main pillars of American society and life. The government, by the way, Senator Joe McCarthy was right. And he was trying to ring the bell in the 1950s about communist infiltration in our government. And the same deep state that is now going after Donald Trump, the same deep state that removed Richard Nixon, the same deep state that went after Ronald Reagan and anybody else who stood up to them, that deep state became very insidious and in the 1950s smeared and attacked Joe McCarthy for speaking the truth about godless communism in very halls of our government. They grabbed control over academia to indoctrinate all of our kids, and they started at the collegiate level, and now it's down to kindergarten, preschool, where they are indoctrinating our children. They grabbed control over the news media so that the propaganda continues to be perpetuated. And they grabbed control over the culture, movies, television, music. Never used to be this way in the 1950s. John Wayne, during World War II, Hollywood was producing patriotic films. No longer. So the communists have been very successful in grabbing control over all of the aspects of American life and culture. They called it the Long March through the institutions. And now they have succeeded because they've been at it for so long. And now, to compound the problem before us, the battle has been joined by other dark and sinister forces, including the Chinese Communist Party, the globalists, and the Islamists. And right now they are all working together, at least for the moment, they're working together to undermine and destroy the United States of America and, by extension, the West as well. It's also being driven by a philosophy of the 1960s by two radical Columbia University professors called Cloward and Piven. And Cloward and Piven thought the most effective way to destroy America was by overwhelming all of her institutions, overwhelming all of her systems in order to implode it all. What do you think $36 trillion in national debt is? What do you think $2 trillion in annual deficits are? What do you think the no-border policy of Joe Biden is, with tens of millions of illegal immigrants flooding the country? What do you think our schools as indoctrination factories are? What do you think the collapse of law and order in our cities and everywhere else is? What do you think the disintegration of the rule of law is? It is all of a piece to overwhelm the systems in order to implode the systems. And as I said, we've got these external forces in the Chinese Communist Party, the globalists, and the Islamists accelerating the decline. And it doesn't help to have a president who's completely compromised in all of this and helping the acceleration of the decline happen. Whenever we, people in this room, have recognized the threat. We have come together in force and in huge numbers to try to stop it. Richard Nixon called us the great silent majority. And when the enemies within recognized that there were so many of us, and that we were starting to recognize our own power, and that there are more of us than there are of them, and started feeling our influence and feeling our power, Nixon called us the great silent majority, and the enemies within put a stop to it. They put a stop to it by removing Richard Nixon and dispiriting all of us and dispersing all of us. Well, then fast forward, and the great silent majority becomes the Reagan Revolution. Okay? And once again, we come together as a people, and we understand the power that we have and the threat that we are under, and we go and make a change, and guess what? The enemies within have to try to destroy that too. So they tried to undermine Ronald Reagan. They didn't wholly succeed, thank God, but they tried. And then the Reagan Revolution, of course, became the Tea Party movement. And we began to feel our own power again and start to take our country back. And there was huge force and influence in numbers. And so what did the enemies within do? Same thing. Discredit, smear, attack, destroy, disperse us. Because when we are together like this, in a room like this, in a country like this, as a force, they cannot defeat us, and they know it. So they throw everything at us, including at our leaders, to try to stop it. And now, of course, the latest iteration of this is America First. Only this time, we're a lot smarter. This time, we are on to their forces of destruction. We are wiser, we are fiercer, we are more committed than ever because we have 50 years of history of being attacked and discredited and destroyed and dispersed. And this time, we say not this time. This time, we say no. It also helps to have a fearless leader in President Donald J. Trump, who I believe of God on him. There's no other secular, rational explanation for Donald J. Trump except hand of God. And I've told him this. This is one of those hinge moments, but unlike the ones that I just described earlier in American history, this one is going to end a war instead of kicking off a war. This one is going to end this long, brutal, evil. I don't know what people expect or want from an American president beyond those four things. That's why you hire an American president. But they've thrown everything they can to try to stop him because, as he always says, they're trying to stop me because they're trying to stop you. Every single time that we have come together, great silent majority, Reagan Revolution, Tea Party, America First, we are all the same. Just as their revolutionaries are all the same, it's all about the revolution. Well, you know what? So is ours. So is ours. And they're not going to stop us this time. They're not going to stop us. So what do we all do? Because we're in this hinge moment now to stop the war on America. I want to leave you with a couple of action items that we can all do. First of all, recognize that this is a long-term project for all of us. The left has been at this for a very long time, like I said, almost a century. So while it's so important to mobilize our fellow Christians, get out there and vote, and be active in this next election. And as great as Donald Trump is, and he is in so many ways the disruptor that we need at the moment, he's only one man, so he's relying on all of us to get him across the finish line, but also to help change the country, and this is a long-term project, so keep that in mind. Second thing is, educate everybody you know about the stakes involved here. Everybody, I was at a dinner party the other night, and I was lecturing everybody at the table with this kind of passion and energy about what is at stake, because we've got one shot left, this is it. Okay? So I'm saying this at a dinner party, and a friend of mine was at the table, and the next day he says to me, Monica, you may want to, be a little bit more solicitous of other people and ask them how they feel and what they think. And I was like, the country is headed by a thread. We don't have time for niceties. So you would look up your dinner parties also and educate everybody. The other thing too is to get involved locally. Tip O'Neill said all politics is local, and it remains true. There is a reason why George Soros has spent tens of millions of dollars on local races, mayors, DAs, etc. There's also a reason why Barack Obama started as a community organizer, because the left knows real change starts at the local level. So get involved in what the philosopher Edmund Burke called our little platoons. Your communities, your churches, your schools, your school boards, locally, that's where the real change happens. And then, of course, activism. I'm getting the hook, but just activism. Volunteer whatever you have at your disposal, whether it's your time as a poll watcher, whether it's your resources to back America First candidates and organizations like this one doing extraordinary grassroots work. Volunteer your expertise. For example, if you're an attorney and there are legal challenges that come up in your district, your town going into the election, volunteer your services for that. And I will just end on this note. Above all, recognize that this is a spiritual war. This is a spiritual battle above everything. So while it is Trump versus Biden, whether it's right versus left, or liberal versus conservative, populist versus whatever, there is something much bigger going on here. Above our pay grade, this is God versus the enemy, good versus evil, however you want to put it, there's something much bigger going on here. And we are spiritual warriors in this battle, and it is up to us to carry our spiritual knowledge and our faith in God forward into this fight, because if God be with us, who can be against us? In this fight, we are up against real darkness from all of the enemies that I laid out here today. So keep God first place. He is in this battle with us. Keep him central. Keep him central. Because I'll tell you what, God is the ultimate warrior for freedom, because he gave it to us. God, through the founders, gave us this beautiful system of liberty, human liberty, and like every generation that came before us, we are not going to let them down, and we've got God walking by our side. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless you.
New York's Elise Stefanik, a fierce defender of Trump, was elected to the party's number 3 spot on Friday.
I support President Trump. Voters support President Trump. He is an important voice in our Republican Party. I was the only elected Republican from the Northeast who voted for President Trump. I have been proud to be one of the strongest supporters of the Democratic Party, and they know they're going to lose in the ballot box, which is why you're seeing witch hunt after witch hunt going after Donald Trump.
Mr. Chairman, will you be prohibiting witnesses from answering members' questions as you have in the closed-door deposition?
As the gentleman should know, she was present for the...
Which I was. Mr. Chairman, only one member of the staff on this committee has direct knowledge of the identity of the whistleblower.
The border crisis is the #1 issue. Joe Biden has created the most catastrophic border crisis in our nation's history, and the American people know it.
We will continue to fight to ensure every baby has the sacred opportunity of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
quarter of Israeli Jewish people has Republicans are passing an emergency funding bill for Israel tonight, providing $14 million in aid. Specifically calling for the genocide of Jews constitute political harassment. Yes, what about the speech becomes conduct? It can be harassment. Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? It depends on the context. It does not depend on the context. The president of the University of Pennsylvania resigned. The Harvard president is set to resign. There's a big fight in terms of these colleges that tax exams that exist as a real moment of reckoning for those university spaces that have allowed anti-Semitism to thrive in their midst. This is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board. At least to 5. At least to 5. At least to 5.
Atrocities suffered the Jewish people since the founding of the modern state of Israel. And since that day, we have been shocked and stunned as Americans to see a rising tide of anti-Semitism around the world, in Europe, in the United States, and in many ways most troubling on our college campuses. And on December 5th of last year, in a shock that was literally occurred around the world, Elise Stefanik asked a simple question, which was whether or not it was okay on the most elite institutions of higher learning in America to practice anti-Semitism and to engage in Jew hate. And I don't know about you, by the way, the video of that hearing has now been viewed 1 billion times. 1 billion times. And at a time when so many of our leaders won't take a stand, at a time when the President of the United States says he has Israel's back and then stabs them in the chest, at a time when in our own nation we cannot believe after decades of saying never again we see this kind of hatred and bigotry, this woman stood up. She was counted, she was heard from, she was a profile in courage, and she forced the resignation of not one but 2 presidents. At the time when she was elected to Congress, she was the youngest woman to ever be elected to the House of Representatives. She has risen in short order to be the 3rd highest ranking Republican in the House. She was an early, strong, and unapologetic supporter of Donald Trump. And it is my great honor, as the chairman of Faith and Freedom Coalition, to present her with our Ronald Reagan Defender of Freedom Award. Would you please welcome Representative Elise Stefanik?
Local, regional, state, and national level. This is the most important
election in our lifetime. We know that this election is different, that the stake of our nation, the protection of our Constitution are on the ballot this November. We have to leave everything on the field to save our great nation and save the American dream. And President Trump is the only one who will be able to get that done. I also want to thank Ralph for his extraordinary leadership. He has been a leader in the conservative movement from a very young age. He is a wonderful friend, as is his family, to mine. I've gotten to know him on the campaign trail, particularly as we've worked to support President Trump and Republicans up and down the ballot. So to earn this award and be presented by Ralph, such an esteemed conservative leader, it's truly a humbling honor for me. Let's talk about what's at stake this election cycle. We have seen under Joe Biden crisis after crisis. Let's start with a historic Biden border catastrophe. This is the most wide-open, catastrophic border crisis in our nation's history. And let me tell you, it's not just our southern border. I know we have so many southern border states who are here represented today, but it is our border across the country and our northern border. I was just up in my district in upstate New York, meeting with Border Patrol, and we've seen more illegals crossing than ever before, including individuals on the terrorist watch list. And the American people are smart. They know that the millions of illegals that have poured into our country are because of Joe Biden's unconstitutional, illegal executive actions, wiping away President Trump's most effective border security policies in our nation's history. That's why when President Trump says he will secure the border, build the wall, end catch and release, restore remain in Mexico policy, we know what the most secure border is in our nation's history, and it's President Trump's border security policies. Those are on the ballot this November. And it's not just border states, as I mentioned, whether you're northern border states or southern border states, every district, every state is a border state and border district. Every community is a border district. The leading cause of death for young Americans is fentanyl poisoning, which is flowing in across our borders because of this border catastrophe. We are going to run and we are going to win on securing the border. On top of the border crisis, we also have the Biden-inflation crisis, the highest rate of inflation in my lifetime. If you talk to hardworking Americans, which I do every day, I was just in my district visiting small businesses, visiting with members of the workforce, visiting with hardworking families. This inflation is crushing hardworking families. Going to the grocery store every week, the price of eggs, I mean, come on, the price of diapers, the price of baby formula, the price of food, bacon, meat, it goes up, and it's a direct result of Joe Biden's failed Biden economics policies, which have hurt catastrophically families, small businesses, manufacturers, and farms. Compare that with the America First economic boom that we saw under President Trump. We are going to restore American greatness. We are going to restore the great America First economy, and we will get that done. House Republicans working with President Trump to fight back and crush this inflation that has been hurting so many families. And we also, and this is tied to the economic crisis we're seeing, the inflation crisis under Joe Biden, the energy crisis. On day one, Joe Biden declared war on American energy independence. And hardworking Americans are footing the bill. We're paying more for utilities, paying more at the pump. All of those energy costs continue to go up. We're having to rely on un-American energy. We must be the energy leader in the world. We know that under President Trump on day one, we will unleash American energy independence. The hundreds of thousands of jobs that come from that, the billions of economic growth that comes from those policies, we will get that done. We also have a catastrophic crime crisis, and I can speak to that from a traditionally blue state like New York, where we have seen Democrats that control all levers of government advocate for defunding the police, for failed bail reform, which allows violent criminals to return back to our streets. We have a crime crisis in places like San Francisco, New York City, other places across America. But what the American people are seeing through is this, at the same time as this catastrophic crime crisis, we're seeing the illegal weaponization of our courts and radical district attorneys like Alvin Bragg going after Joe Biden's chief political opponent, that is Donald J. Trump. It is a form of election interference. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. We must do everything we can as the American people to make sure that we restore equal justice under the law, that we stand up against this radicalization, this corruption of our courts. I've been proud as a member of the New York delegation and just a proud New Yorker to file ethics complaints against Alvin Bragg, the corrupt process, the jury selection process. Think about this. It is so corrupt that in the jury selection process, the jurors were asked, do you follow any social media accounts of President Donald J. Trump? If any of them said yes, they were not allowed to serve on the jury. They were not asked that about Joe Biden. They jury shopped and then they illegally judge shopped. The fact that this is a judge that donated to Joe Biden, it is corrupt to the core, and on top of that, the judge's direct family members are some of the chief fundraisers for radical Democrats like Adam Schiff, fundraising off of this illegal lawfare court case going after President Donald J. Trump. We must save our country at the ballot box this November. It will be the American people that save the Constitution and save this country and fight back. And I will tell you, this is part of the reason why recently you've seen President Trump gaining in poll after poll. He's ahead in every swing state. But importantly, even states like New York, Democrats are in big trouble. President Trump is within single digits in New York State, and we are proud as New Yorkers that no state flipped more House congressional seats than New York State from Democrat to Republican. We will continue to go on offense to build this majority and send Democrats back. On top of the Biden border crisis, the inflation crisis, the energy crisis, the crime crisis, we've also seen Joe Biden's weakness as commander-in-chief on the global stage. We saw the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan, an absolute black mark on America, the way the rest of the world views America. We then saw Israel, our most precious ally, under attack from the vicious Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists, leading to the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And what have we seen from Joe Biden? What have we seen from this White House? We have seen anti-Israel policies. They have turned their back on our most precious ally. And I am very proud that President Trump, if you look at our greatest defender of Israel from the White House, it was President Trump. The Abraham Accords, the embassy to Jerusalem, support for Israel, the Abraham Accords. And I recently had the opportunity to deliver remarks in the Jerusalem room at the Knesset, and I'm very proud over my lifetime, even before I was in Congress, I am proud to be a lifetime supporter of Israel. I had the opportunity to travel to Israel when I was an undergraduate. I had the opportunity to travel when I was a young professional, and I have been there many times as a member of Congress. And it is more important than ever that the United States, that America shows moral leadership and standing with Israel. There should be no equivocation, no daylight when it comes to U.S. support for Israel. And
bloodiest day since the Holocaust. We saw our quote-unquote most elite universities fail. It was not just moral equivocation, it was moral bankruptcy that we saw on full display. Now I want to ask you, did you see that committee hearing clip? Yes. The world saw that committee hearing clip, and I want to take you into that committee hearing. I was deeply concerned with the rise of anti-Semitism, particularly after the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel. I graduated from Harvard myself. I'm the first member of my immediate family to have that opportunity to graduate from college. What I'm most proud of is I graduated and stayed a conservative, which is a big achievement. So I encouraged my colleague, Chairwoman Virginia Fox, that we needed to have a hearing to address and combat this rise of anti-Semitism on our college campuses. And she agreed. We had the hearing with university presidents from MIT, from Penn, and from Harvard. And throughout the hearing, we did not get a lot of direct answers. They were trying to avoid answering our questions. The question that is now the most viewed testimony in the history of the United States Congress, that was the last question of the committee hearing. It was not my prepared question. I thought, how can I ask this question in a moral way, to force a yes answer? And that question was this. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate your university's code of conduct? And one after the other said, it depends on the context. And the world heard. We know it does not depend on the context. We know that that is not reflective of American values. UPenn's president was forced to resign within 48 hours. It took a month for our president to resign as well. Two down, so many to go. We will continue. We will continue to stand up for what's right. We will continue to hold these universities accountable. Each of those higher ed institutions relies on nearly $1 billion of U.S. taxpayer funds every year. If there is any support for anti-Semitism, if these schools refuse and fail to protect Jewish students, we will defund them. We will stand up for them. Foreign funding piece. If you look at the amount of foreign funding from adversaries that are flowing into our higher ed institutions, it made news just this week. Those universities are not disclosing, according to the law, how much money they're receiving from these foreign countries. That needs to be fully transparent for the American people. These are American institutions. So those three universities, MIT, Penn, and Harvard, we have since had the Columbia University president who failed in that testimony. Her presidency is untenable as she chose to negotiate with the pro-Hamas encampment, as they refuse to enforce the rules, as they fail to protect Jewish students. We will continue to using our subpoena power to bring them under oath in front of these committees until we root out this rot of anti-Semitism. I'm very proud to serve as House Republican Conference Chair. My goal every single day is to make sure House Republicans are unified, that we are focusing on the issues that matter to the American people, that we are going on offense, communicating our positive message of making America great again and the America First movement, and we are crisscrossing this country to not only flip the Senate, but to gain seats in the House, and most importantly, to elect President Donald J. Trump. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you to the Great to see you, Bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Executive Director of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, Timothy Head.